Welcome to your virtual workplace safety training relating specifically to the coronavirus pandemic, produced by Hoffman Auto Group's Talent Engagement Center. Throughout this virtual training, we'll cover 6 main areas. 1. What steps has Hoffman taken to ensure your workplace safety? 2. What steps should you as an employee take? 3. Social distancing. 4. Masks and PPE. 5. Properly resolving issues around masks and PPE with both customers and employees. And 6. Resources. One of the most important things to understand is the steps that Hoffman's already put in place to work towards a safe environment. First and foremost, our facility staff and third-party cleaning companies are using Virex 2, a CDC-recommended disinfectant. Disinfectants and cleaning supplies have been distributed to your departments, and we will continue to do so as these materials are requested and become available. We've taken a look at workspaces and wherever social distancing is possible, have made the necessary adjustments. For employees that have contact with customers, we've provided face shields and protective barriers to limit the transfer of germs. Please note, if you still want a face shield or protective barrier, you may still request one from your manager or directly from Central Dispatch. We've implemented an employee suggestion box to continue to get best practices on workplace safety. More to come on this later. For furloughed employees, all benefits remain active and available. We are limiting in-person meetings and utilizing technology. And finally, we've implemented a customer sign-in/coronavirus exposure questionnaire, which we will discuss later in the presentation. Let's get even more specific. We have ample supply of plastic gloves, masks, face shields, disinfectant, and hand sanitizer. While we don't have wipes like Lysol or Clorox wipes, disinfectant sprayed on clean paper towel will have the same effect. Our ventilation systems are 10 years old and remain fully up to code for both circulation and air transfer at all locations. And we've asked both our external cleaning company and in-house facility staff to increase the repetition of high-traffic touchpoint areas, such as countertops or doorknobs, but we do need your help as employees. On this slide, we'll discuss the customer sign-in/coronavirus exposure questionnaire. The image that you see on the left is the questionnaire. First of all, every customer who enters one of our dealerships should be completing one of these questionnaire forms. It's important because it ensures that customers who've traveled to and from COVID-19 hotspots are not inside our dealerships for extended periods of time. And it also screens for customers that may be showing symptoms or have been in contact with a person who's tested positive for the coronavirus in the last 14 days. In the past, there have been instances where customers have been reluctant to complete this form because they feel that their contact information is going to be utilized for marketing purposes. This is not the case. The only time we will use a customer's contact information off this form is when we need to reach out to them about health and safety relating to the coronavirus. As matter of fact as it may sound, proper hand washing procedures are one of the steps that we can all take to control the spread of COVID-19. Proper hand washing procedure includes the following 5 steps. First, wet your hands with clean running water, either warm or cold, turn off the tap, and apply soap. Next, lather your hands by rubbing them together with the soap. Lather the back of your hands, be sure to get between your fingers and even under your nails. Scrub your hands for at least 20 seconds. Need a timer? Hum the happy birthday song from beginning to end twice. After that, rinse your hands well under clean running water. And finally, dry your hands using a clean towel or air dry them. In addition to all the times we know we should already be washing our hands, Per CDC guidelines, during the COVID-19 pandemic, you should clean your hands after you've been in a public place and touched an item or surface that may be frequently touched by other people, such as door handles, tables, gas pumps, shopping carts, or electronic cashier registers or screens, and before touching your eyes, nose, or mouth, because that's exactly how germs enter our bodies. In this section, we'll talk about some high-traffic touchpoint areas that we've identified needing support in helping to keep disinfected. One area is a customer sign-in desk or a first impressions desk. Another area is doors, door handles, and doorknobs. Also consider, are you able to prop the door open so that you can have an open door policy? This, of course, reduces the overall times that either customers or coworkers need to touch the door. Third, technicians' tools, toolboxes, workbenches, and computers located in shops. Fourth, across the company, computer keyboards and mice. Fifth, communal copiers and printers. First of all, we certainly understand that many things in our industry need to be printed on hard copy. However, when you're using these communal workspaces, please consider, are we able to go paperless? Going paperless ensures that there is one less thing to touch and one less thing to hand off to customers or coworkers. Next, your own personal workspace, such as your desk, your computer keyboard, pencils, pens, workbooks, coffee mugs, you name it. If these things are on your desk, they can collect germs on them. Next, vehicle doors and vehicle keys. Eighth, communal break rooms and lunch rooms, including the tables and chairs that are in them. And finally, our phones. Not just the phones on our desks, but also our cell phones. We pick these up, particles come out of our nose and mouth as we're speaking, and inevitably land on our phones. We'll want to disinfect all of these items as frequently as possible. Keep in mind that managers have already been dispatched disinfectant and spray bottles in order to help assist in the cleaning of these areas. And just to close out the section about cleaning and disinfecting, we live in a really different world than we did just a few months ago. Taking responsibility for sanitization is the new normal. If we rely only on our cleaning crews and facility staff, we run a much greater risk of passing germs. We always have to remain vigilant. See somebody cough by the coffee machine, wipe that area down. A stranger touches your phone, wipe that down. Share responsibility with coworkers for periodically wiping down door handles. Safely wipe down expensive electronics by spraying disinfectant on a clean paper towel and then wiping it down, each and every morning. These are just a few examples. Not only are they now a part of everyone's job, but they'll also keep you and your loved ones healthy. We're all in this together and should act accordingly. Moving on, let's talk about some basics around social distancing. These are some important reminders. First, remain at least 6 feet away from both coworkers and customers, if at all possible. Ensure that you're wearing your mandated PPE. We'll talk more about that later. Avoid situations where you're congregating with groups. For example, think about those break rooms or lunch rooms or conference rooms or meetings. And managers, remember, do not hold in-person meetings where employees will be in close proximity. Use technology if at all possible. Before we move on to talking about masks and PPE, this slide is very important. It discusses what employees should do if you think you're sick or have potentially been exposed to the coronavirus. Employees, if you think you're sick or you've been potentially exposed to COVID-19 and you're currently at home, do not come to work. Call your supervisor for next steps. I repeat, do not come to work. If you're at work, notify your manager immediately. Do not delay. Again, notify your manager immediately if you are at work and you're feeling under the weather. Managers, in these situations, refer to your manager guide that was sent by email and is available on ADP Workforce Now. Should you have any questions at all regarding this slide or employees that are feeling under the weather, make sure to reach out to the Talent Engagement Center right away. The next several slides will deal directly with masks and PPE. Some important things to note. As of April 20th at 8 p.m., Connecticut Governor Ned Lamont signed an executive order requiring the use of face coverings in the state. Face masks will continue to be provided by the company. If you do not have a mask or you need a new one, ask your manager and they'll provide you with another. Take ownership. If you see customers or coworkers not wearing a mask, professionally remind them that it is a state requirement. Speak to your manager if you need assistance in having these conversations. More to come on this later. And just a note, children under the age of 2 are not required to wear a face covering. In the following slides, I'll go over 3 separate scenarios that you may have already dealt with in your dealership or likely may in the future. Each of these scenarios relates directly to informing a customer about wearing a mask per the Connecticut Executive Order. Scenario number 1. You notice a customer waiting in your service area. She's not wearing a mask, so you professionally inform her of the executive order. She responds that she has a medical condition which prevents her from being able to wear a mask. What's your course of action? Scenario number 1 is unique in that the customer has verbally told us that they have a medical condition which prevents him or her from wearing a mask. In this specific instance, the first thing that we would do is we would politely and professionally ask the customer to provide us with documentation that shows they do have that medical condition. If they're able to provide us with that documentation, then that customer can be inside of our building without a mask or without PPE. In the event that the customer is unable to provide us with that documentation, we can politely and professionally require that this customer leave our building. Throughout this scenario and any scenario, safety should be our number one concern. However, we also want to continue to provide a high level of customer service that we know Hoffman Auto Group is known for. One possible solution in this scenario, if a customer does need to leave our building, is offering them a pickup drop-off. This allows us to continue to do business with them while preventing them from staying inside our building, which can be a health and safety concern to customers and coworkers. Scenario number 2. A customer comes up to the parts counter without a mask on. You ask him to please put a mask or face covering on, and he responds that masks don't work, so I'm not wearing one. What do you do next? In scenario number 2, the customer is simply outright refusing to comply with the Connecticut Executive Order. After we make 1 or 2 attempts to get this customer to comply, and they still refuse, we can and should ask this customer professionally and politely to step outside of our dealership. Once that customer is outside of our dealership, then, similar to scenario number 1, we want to balance safety with the high level of customer service that Hoffman is known for. That means in this situation, once we've secured all of our safety PPE, masks, gloves, and we are being socially distanced with this customer, then we can continue to do business with them. However, again, this customer should not be inside of our dealership without a mask. And last but not least, scenario number 3. A service customer comes in for an appointment, and when they submit their survey so that they can enter the building, you notice that they checked off the box for having visited Florida in the last 2 weeks. What alternative solution should we come up with to ensure everyone's safety? This situation underscores the importance of utilizing the coronavirus exposure questionnaire that was referenced previously. Remember, that questionnaire will help us to identify customers that should not be inside of our dealership due to their answers on the form. That's exactly what happened in this scenario. Once we've reviewed the form and we see that somebody has checked off a box for maybe having visited a coronavirus hotspot in the last 2 weeks, we know that we want to use the same high level of customer service balanced with safety in the previous 2 scenarios. This might mean offering the customer a seat outside so that they're not waiting inside of our dealership, offering them a pickup or drop off, or potentially ordering them an Uber home. As you probably noticed, each of these scenarios are unique, but they all require the same thing. Number 1, safety as our first concern, but number 2, then it requires to come up with a common sense solution which balances safety and customer service. Just like you may find yourself in a position where you need to address a customer concerning mask or PPE, you may also find yourself in this position with coworkers. Step number 1, if you notice coworkers who are not adhering to the ideas in this presentation, whether it's on masks or social distancing or even hygiene like hand washing, professionally have a direct conversation with him or her to remind him or her. Step 2, bring continued issues to your manager who will support you swiftly. Remember, we're all in this together. When we all take time to ensure we're following these guidelines each and every day, we will all be safer. Finally, we'll close out with 3 important resources that you have at your fingertips. The first resource that you can go to for further investigation is cdc.gov. This is the website for the Centers for Disease Control. In addition to that, there is also an official Connecticut coronavirus information page, portal.ct.gov/coronavirus. The final resource is Hoffman's own employee suggestion box. This is located on Hoffman's ADP Workforce Now homepage. Once you log in, you'll see the link located in the upper right-hand corner of our homepage. It's important to note that suggestions can be submitted anonymously if you are not comfortable tying your name to it. This concludes our presentation. If you have any additional questions or need support in any way, please reach out to a member of the Talent Engagement Center as soon as possible. Thank you for your time.